Hey folks, what's going on? Dylan here from Fabrication Guy, and today we're going to be talking about roller guides for your plasma cutter torch versus standard standoff guides like you can see here, these very cheap ones or this one here. Which ones are better for your plasma torch? Because they both serve the same purpose, but they're two different styles, and people often ask me, what's the difference and which ones do you recommend? So we're going to tackle that today, and I'm going to explain to you why I highly prefer a standard standoff guide without wheels over these wheeled versions here. So all the ones that I'm looking at in this video will be in the video description if you want to check them out on Amazon. So those will be down below. The reason I really dislike these standoff guides with the wheels is that when you set up your straight edge, typically when you're using a standoff guide, you're going to be using, it to cut up a 4x8 sheet of steel, and you're going to be setting some type of straight edge and then dragging your plasma cutter along that straight edge to go ahead and quarter up the steel for your project. Where the problem with these lies is that typically this little pin here on the wheel is your main point of contact with your straight edge. This is what sticks out the farthest. And the problem with that is if you're using a really low profile straight edge, like say you're using a piece of 1/4 inch flat bar that's clamped onto your piece of your plate of steel, then oftentimes this little tiny pin, as you're dragging it, will cause the torch to kind of hop up because there's a little bit of friction there, and it'll cause it to hop up, and it totally messes up your cut. Huge inconvenience. Another thing that can happen is that these wheels oftentimes can cause you to move to the left or right based off of the wheel setup. If they're not perfectly aligned, or if they're slightly bent, or they get hit, those wheels will cause your torch to veer off to the left or right as you're pulling it. They don't do too well dragging across the metal if they're not completely aligned straight. And I really think that these wheels are kind of pointless because there's not a lot of weight on the torch itself. There's not enough friction there to give you the need to have wheels. So that is why I like just a standard standoff guide. These are my favorite style here, and like I said, I'll link to this down in the video description. These are the ones that I like the best. They just have a little slit here on the back that you can open and close them to tighten them around your torch, and then they just have two little prongs that stick out that hold the torch off the metal. That is the main function with these, is to give you the correct distance from the tip of your torch to the metal and to hold it at that distance, and then also give you a nice flat area to pull along your straight edge. And these do that. When you put them on your torch, as you can see along the side here, you have a big flat area to pull against that straight edge. So these are without a doubt the way to go. I have had more problems with these roller guides and them just not working how they're supposed to, getting bent, pieces falling off. They're just kind of a pain in the butt to work with. So I highly recommend just go with the standard standoff guide. These cheap ones here do work well as well. However, they can have a little bit of issues getting really tight around the torch. So if you're pushing really hard, sometimes you can have issues with that if there's no little flat spot for that wire to push against. So keep that in mind. I think that this type here is definitely the way to go, and you'll be really, really happy with the results. Keep it simple. You don't need wheels. You don't need rollers. You don't need really tons of height adjustment. You can just use one of these and it'll do everything that you need. All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, I'll have links to all these in the video description. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you the next one.